Hey everyone, Draco Magnius here for a point 5 episode of The Wolf Among Us. This time we're going to be going into the extras and into the Book of Fables. I figured I'd want to show this off like every 2 episodes or so. You see, if I were playing this game for the first time, every so often when we met a new character, something interesting happened. A profile for that character would pop up in the Book of Fables as long as a bit of backstory behind that particular character and what they've been doing since the move from where the Fables originally came from. And now, you'll also notice some of these have these locks on them. The choices that have locks next to them, like this one here and this one here, are related to certain choices you make. For example, if I chose to be more aggressive when interrogating Tweedledee, we would probably have gotten the one here. I'm only going to be reading the ones for 1 and 2, obviously, as those are the only ones we've been through. But without further ado, let's get started with Bigby Wolf. Bigby Wolf, Fabletown Sheriff. The renowned Big Bad Wolf. He's known for tormenting pigs and girls in red hoods, but is trying to put those dark days behind him. Excuse me. Bigby now acts as Fabletown's sheriff, and remains in his human form, mostly. However, due to his rough past, the citizens of Fabletown are slow to trust him. Bigby is determined to show that he's truly changed, but some instincts are just too hard to control. Snow White, assistant to the deputy mayor. Snow White may seem cold, unclearly intended, but this stems from her life of mistreatment and abuse back in the homelands. After escaping assault and imprisonment, not to mention an attempt on her life, she married Prince Charming. It wasn't long before Snow discovered that Charming cheated on her with her estranged sister Rose Red, and she divorced him. After the Exodus, Snow forced her attention on setting up a safe haven for fables in the New World. She now serves as assistant to Deputy Mayor of Fabletown. The Woodsman, fallen hero. The Woodsman is one of few men who went toe-to-toe with Bigby in his Black Forest days, and lived to tell the tale. In an attempt to save Little Red Riding Hood, he split the Great Wolf's belly open with his axe, filled him full of rocks, and threw the beast into a river. To his dismay, his popularity has faded. Even his name is forgotten, and he's only known as the Woodsman. Faith, Donkey Skin Girl. Faith, otherwise known as the Donkey Skin Girl, made it through the Exodus from the magical homeland. Sorry, I'm gonna mess up a couple times because I'm doing this all on the spot in one take. Anywho, from the magical homelands with the clothes on her back, her husband, and nothing else. She was once a beautiful princess, happily married to Prince Lawrence of a neighboring kingdom. Her life should have had a happy ending. But the mundane city of New York wasn't kind to her. Or her marriage. With no money, Faith found herself turning tricks to make rent for a cheap apartment on the outskirts of Fabletown. She had a difficult life, but she did what she could to survive in an unfamiliar world. Beauty, caring wife. Beauty and her husband Beast once lived in an enchanted castle, but they were forced to flee the homelands in the Exodus, leaving all of their wealth behind. Now they live in a modest studio in Fabletown, New York. Though times are hard, with the Beast working multiple jobs to pay the bills, the couple have the longest-lasting relationship of all the Fables. Beast, concerned husband. Beast and his wife Beauty left everything behind when they escaped the homelands in the Exodus. Without his former wealth, the Beast must pick up extra work to make ends meet. He is able to get around Fabletown without a glamour, most of the time, but if Beauty gets too angry with him, he becomes more beastly by the minute, growing horns and large teeth. Despite the occasional bickering, the two are truly in love and have the longest-lasting relationship of anyone in Fabletown. Good for them. Mr. Toad, Slumlord. Mr. Toad is the superintendent for a defunct tenement on the edge of Fabletown proper. Because he's a 3.5-foot talking amphibian, Toad is required by Fabletown law to keep his family and himself magically glamoured to appear human. The problem is, Toad isn't too concerned with what the law is, and he has to be reminded often. Colin, the couch surfer. Colin is better known as one of the 3 little pigs. Back in the homelands, they were harassed by the Big Bad Wolf, who blew down Colin's house of straw. After the Exodus, Colin and the other Fables, who couldn't pass for humans, were sent to live at the farm in upstate New York. Unable to stand such a boring life, Colin constantly makes trips down to Fabletown to bother Bigby. He's always caught and sent back to the farm, but he doesn't let that stop him. Ichabod Crane, Deputy Mayor of Fabletown. Hailing from the haunted town of Sleepy Hollow, Ichabod Crane has been Deputy Mayor of Fabletown for nearly 115 years. Damn you, old Crane! Crane is a bundle of nerves and takes his job very seriously. Didn't stop him from sleeping with the snow-glamoured, almost said Holly Lily, but that's neither here nor there. Though that doesn't mean he always does it well. As one of Fabletown's elite, Crane is often blind to the troubles of the less well-off citizens. Overall, Crane is authoritarian, cowardly, and always hiding something. Buffkin, Fabletown Librarian. Buffkin is the talking winged monkey from the Land of Oz. Now, as Fabletown's librarian, he spends his time reading and stealing the deputy mayor's booze. I don't know why I said books. He's prone to mischief, so when something goes wrong, he assumes he'll receive the lion's share of the blame. He's helpful when he wants to be, but most of the time he'd rather be drinking. Someone would have fired him long ago, but he's the only one who can make sense of the filing system. So he has a job permanently, even if he is a drunkard. Okay, next. Fabletown, home of the Fables. Fabletown is a community located on Bulfinch Street in Manhattan's Upper West Side. To regular people, or Mondays, it appears to be an ordinary New York neighborhood, but it is really the home of fables from many worlds. And within the business office at the Woodlands lies a massive cavern, a vast library, and hundreds of magical items of immense power. All non-human fables live upstate on the farm, an extension of Fabletown. And the farm. I think this finishes the first set. Actually, no, this next one might finish it. Moving on. The farm is home to fables who cannot pass as humans, giants, goblins, animals, etc. It's located in upstate New York, far enough away from the Mondays to avoid detection. Some of its residents resent their confinement to the farm despite its size and comforts. To them, the farm is a prison. They would be allowed to leave the farm if they could purchase a glamour, but many don't have the money for something so expensive, though some, like Colin, sneak out into the city anyway. Who knows how he manages to do that? Mondays, short for mundane. Monday is a catch-all term that the fables use to refer to non-magical inhabitants and of their adopted home. Warding spells placed around the blocks of Fabletown and the farm keep their minds distracted and dull within certain boundaries. However, if anything should pique the curiosity or scrutiny of a large group of Mondays, these magical protection charms would overload and fail. As Sheriff of Fabletown, one of Bigby's primary functions is ensuring that Fabletown community maintains a low profile. Glamours. Glamours are spells that allow the user to change their appearance. They are expensive, but can be purchased by non-human fables in order to pass for human among the Mondays. Cheap glamours can be found in the seedier parts of Fabletown, but they are often unreliable and prone to sudden failure. Prince Lawrence, Faith's husband. After escaping the homelands, Prince Lawrence and his wife Faith immediately fell victim to the harsh realities of the mundane world. They moved to New York hoping to find aid in a community of fellow fables, but without enough money to live in Fabletown, they had to settle on an apartment on the outskirts of the neighborhood. Unfortunately, that meant they were out of sight and out of mind when it came to government assistance. Their prospects dwindling, Faith left Lawrence to try and make it on her own. Now without his wife for support, Lawrence struggles to motivate himself and quickly sinks into depression. The Tweedles, hired goons. Wait, did I read his? Yeah, Faith's husband. Hired goons. The Tweedle brothers, Dumb and Dee, are thugs for hire. They appear to be human, allowing them to carry their contracts in the Mundy world without drawing suspicion. They are as inseparable as they are ruthless. Holly, the Trip Trap owner. Holly is a no-nonsense kind of troll, and the owner of the Trip Trap bar. She's glamoured to appear human, but her patrons know better. Holly takes good care of her regulars, often the downtrodden fables, with little to spare. But she has no patience for Fabletown government that has done nothing to locate her missing sister. Grendel, the Drifter. Grendel just wants to be left alone. In the old days, he terrorized Nordmead's halls, but lately he can be found occupying a stool in various quiet, dumpy bars around New York City. He hates the noise of the city, but must work there to afford his glamour. Despite his gruff bearing, he's fiercely loyal to those who've learned to offer him the space and silence he desires. Talking to him is like watching a time bomb tick down. It's only a matter of time. Bluebeard, the wealthy scoundrel. Bluebeard managed to escape the homeland with his riches intact, and continues to be one of the wealthiest fables in New York City. I could just say New York, I don't know why I keep adding city, but I digress. The Fabletown government depends on his generous contributions, and he often uses his influence for his own benefit. As a former serial killer, he claims his days of decapitating his brides are over, but even if he was able to leave his violent ways in the homelands, that hasn't stopped him from making the occasional trip down Crooked Lane. Bigby's Mercy. In the days leading up to the Exodus, the Big Bad Wolf hunted armies of men and goblins in the Black Forest. These invading forces had driven off the great beast's preferred quarry, and their own flesh was rotten with corruption. Hardly a suitable replacement. He made it his game to destroy their camps, devour their night watchmen, and disrupt their supply trains while sparing their prisoners. One day he broke their ranks and discovered a peculiar woman they held captive. Her skin was as white as snow, but her hair was as dark as the night sky. He approached her, and she, knowing no sword could match the giant wolf's power, bravely placed her shackles into the beast's mouth. He freed her, but years would pass before the two met again in the Mundy world. Bluebeard's Mercy, Bluebeard's last wife. After a long line of marriages resulting in mysterious disappearances, Bluebeard's last wife in the homelands was naturally suspicious of him. One day he departed on business, leaving her alone in his estate. He gave her free rein of all the rooms, but made her promise not to open the closet on the ground floor. She defied him, of course, and discovered the location of his missing wives. When Bluebeard returned, he knew he must kill her before she revealed his murderous secret. She persuaded him to allow her a moment to pray, which he reluctantly granted. This small mercy gave her brothers time to arrive and rescue her, and Bluebeard's crimes were exposed. 13th Floor, the Witches and Wizards of Fabletown. 13th floor of the Woodland building is home to a group of witches and wizards tasked with the protection of Fabletown. They use their powers to keep the community hidden from prying Mundy eyes. But all magic has its limits, and every spell has its cost. The Witching Well. The Witching Well is located in a chamber inside the Woodland building, where it is used to dispose of things meant to never be seen again. Dead fables are committed to its depths, as are the most unredeemable criminals. No one is entirely sure what lies at the bottom of the well, nor indeed if it has a bottom at all, but it is widely assumed to be the passageway to the final resting place. Blah. Also, I heard from Tantibus13, who's read the comic series, that in the comic series, at some point, someone goes down into the witching well alive and describes it as a very unpleasant feeling. I don't remember exact words, but I think it was something along the lines of feeling like having your flesh ripped from your body and then burned. So not very pleasant at all. Probably want to be dead when you go through the witching well. Jack Horner, the harmless trickster. Jack is always up to something, but he's not nearly as smart as he thinks he is. His plans to get rich quick often backfire, but his confidence never wavers. He thinks he's the most important person in Fabletown, but everyone knows him as a mostly harmless smartass. Oh, I'm trying to remember the story Jack Horner's from. I know he's from a nursery rhyme, but I don't remember the particular one that he is in. Is he the one who stuck his thumb in a pie? I don't know, maybe. Lily, estranged sister. Lily and her sister Holly grew up in the homelands together, but had a falling out shortly after the moving to the mundane world. Aimlessly and increasingly destitute, Lily turned to prostitution, and now she's the second victim in an ongoing murder investigation. Troll Cross, Lily's brooch. A troll cross is an amulet made of iron that was foolishly thought to protect the wearer from trolls. Lily acquired hers while wandering through the wilderness searching for something to eat. She came across a human, but before she could devour him, he held the troll cross out and shouted, "Back! Back, you troll!" After enjoying her tasty snack, Lily plucked the cross from the dead man's hands. After the exodus, she wore the troll cross constantly as a reminder of better days. Georgie Porgie, the pimp. Georgie runs the Pudding and Pie, a strip club that also caters to the unmentionable desires of Fabletown citizens. He's tried just about everything there is to try in pursuit of worldly pleasures, but none of it satisfies him for long. He does seem to enjoy pushing people's buttons, rather. He takes pride in his nightclub, and doesn't react well to anyone meddling in his affairs. Clever Hans. I don't know what story he's from, but anyway. Clever Hans always does exactly as he's told. However, he often misunderstands his instructions, and ends up hurting himself or behaving oddly, as in the case of his noted fable, where he threw sheep's eyes at his wife. Unsurprisingly, she left him, and now Hans works as a bouncer at Georgie's club. He hopes to dance on stage one day, but for now he's content sweeping up and making sure the crowd doesn't get out of hand. And Nerissa, from The Little Mermaid. Nerissa's story never had a happy ending. She is known as the Little Mermaid, a young girl who gave up her tail for a pair of legs in the hopes of winning the heart of a handsome prince. When he married a princess instead, Nerissa was left heartbroken. She made the journey to the mundane world, hoping for a better life. Now she dances at the Pudding and Pie, but each step she takes feels like walking on shards of glass. She has very little left, but finds some comfort in the company of her fellow dancers. And the last one here... Actually, no. The one after this is the last one, my bad. The Gaze of the Great... I'm sorry. Let me try that again. Troll Funeral Rites, The Long Absence. The gaze of Great Mother Death is always upon us. Beneath her affectionate eye, we fight our battles, we nurse our wounds, we shout our victories, and endure our sorrows. And when we fall, she is there. Her embrace is the silence of the mountain, the heavy peace of the stone. Approximately translated, the troll funeral is a sacred ritual passed down by oral traditions from the troll mother to son. It begins at sunset with the creation of the Kame? Or is that RN? I think it's an M. Wait, Kame? Time? Anyway. A small pile of stones to represent the many generations of trolls that have traveled and died before them. The foundation upon which the living stand. Weapons are divided amongst the trolls' closest comrades. The body and the rest of their possessions are burned. And though each viewer must speak to the life of the lost, the eulogy candor would make a Mundy blush. Vivian, Georgie's girl. Much of Vivian's past is unknown, since she prefers not to talk about her life back in the homelands. She wanted to start fresh in Fabletown, but she finds herself working for Georgie at the Pudding and Pie. It's not a terrible life. Georgie took a liking to Vivian, so he doesn't make her take jobs at the Open Arms. Instead, she plays hostess and helps Georgie ensure complete customer satisfaction. You know, I could probably go to Dr. Swineheart because he was mentioned multiple times, and he's the next entry. Yeah, what the hell, we'll do one more and that'll be the end. Dr. Swineheart, the army surgeon. I don't know what he's from. Dr. Swineheart is the resident Fabletown physician, so skilled in the art of instrumental surgery that he can safely operate on himself. He has served as an army medic for many years, sometimes using his talents to impress the locals. He currently runs the Special Research Section of the Knights of Malta Hospital, so named to discourage people for actually investigating what is actually a reserved, Fables-focused health facility. But with that, I think we'll end this reading here. I'll see you guys in the next episode, and I'll see you in the next 0.5 episode where we cover the entries for episodes 3 and 4.